Hello, and welcome to this conversation. Minke DeVos and myself, Shashi Solluna, we are sharing a bit about the Tao Tantric Arts for men. We have many requests over the years from men asking, how can we do your work? How can we train with you? And so here we are, we're addressing that.
So happy to be here. And I've worked with men for 35 years in my retreats, and I just know how hungry they are for this work and how
Yeah.
they really want to have that self-mastery of sexual energy.
Absolutely. And yeah, I myself too, I've worked a lot with men and one-on-one sessions as well as in groups and within their couples. And one of the beautiful things about our training, Minka, of course, like the training that we both did with Mantak Chia, is that when you become a Tao facilitator in that system, you learn the female practices and you learn the male practices, as well as learning practices that can be done by both, right? Because they are different.
Different practices, and both are very effective and very powerful.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the things that I really experience is being part of the Tantra world, which I am quite a lot, is that Tantra is amazing for many, many things. Like, let's say mostly Neo Tantra, I'm talking about, which is very, very prevalent, very, very popular. It's great for like intimacy and connection and emotional release and deconditioning. It's all fantastic. But I'd say again and again, the place where I see a deficit is in energy mastery. It's, people have a vague idea that energy's activating and maybe even rising. But that's kind of it. There's no kind of mastery in how to work with that energy, the different channels to channel it into, how to center it, how to ground it, how to discharge it, how to, all the nuances, all the details that we have in Taoism. And that's what I think the Tao does. Just, it's like the mastery of engineering. So that's something that I feel that is called for in the Tantra world more and more. And the men are also realizing, okay, I feel alive and I feel open, but I want to learn more about energy mastery.
And also, what the Taoists are so great about is regular practice, like really tuning your instrument, feeling your power, channeling that power on a regular basis. So you're ready and tuned up for lovemaking whenever that happens.
Yeah, that's really true, actually, that you mentioned practice, because also in Neo Tantra, there's a lot of experiential work. So people come to a workshop and they have an experience, they come to a festival, but then in daily life, they don't have any way to kind of access that or even integrate that. And of course, the Taoist work is very, very deep in a daily practice. Maybe you could say a little bit, Minka, for people who are watching this who are like, well, what does that daily practice look like? Could you maybe name some of the, especially the male practices?
So
Just to
one
give
of
an
the
idea.
simple practices for men is called the power lock, where you're pulling out earth energy and you're having your testicles lift and lower, just really bouncing that pelvic floor, the trampoline for your spirit. And then you grab their muscles and you move the energy up the spine. And then you energize your brain and the glands of bliss. And then you bring that energy back down to nourish your body and center the power in your core. And that power lock is very, very powerful as a daily practice.
So this, the power lock that you refer to, is one of the ways like that men can learn how to pull the sexual energy up out of their sex center. And of course, we hear in Tantra about like not ejaculating, but what we go into in depth with these kind of practices, like the power lock, is how to do that. Because some men think not ejaculating is just squeezing really hard and trying not to ejaculate. But actually, what we know from Taoist practices is that we need to separate the energy from the physical matter, right? So that we can learn to pull the energy up. Because if men just kind of stop themselves physically from ejaculating, that energy can get stuck there, and then they can get like blue balls or frustration, right? And then they're like, oh, what kind of practice is this? Whereas what we're trying to teach is how to what's called sublimate that energy or draw it up, which can cultivate full body orgasm in a man, and like you said, activate the glands of bliss, so create higher states of consciousness out of sexuality. So and open the heart, of course. So there are different results or different things we can do with our sexual energy, and that a man can learn. And it's not just, oh, I'm not ejaculating, I can have sex for longer. It's like, I'm pulling my energy up to open my heart, to open my mind, to reach higher states of consciousness. And as a side effect, I'm not ejaculating.
And the great side effects is it makes you healthier and more vital, more
Yeah.
energy, and its longevity. So you can use it for years and years and years and years and still feeling really sexy and vital.
Yeah, right. Because that's a big focus in Taoism. Again, that isn't mentioned so much in Tantra. Like the Taoists knew that this energy, this life force energy, is the eternal energy, the immortal energy, and that if we burn it up through sex, drugs, and rock and roll, we basically diminish our life force. And so that's another thing. It's not just about the moment of lovemaking being a little bit longer, but actually being able to cultivate life force energy and create this incredible reservoir of life force energy.
And you can literally make love, you can make wisdom, you can make courage, you can make all these incredible virtues with that energy.
Yeah.
So it's about emotional transformation as well. A
Yeah.
lot of Taoist practices.
Yeah. So when we look at the lowest frequency of what men could do with sexual energy is like fantasizing, watching porn, and putting all their sexual energy towards that. And then that's what they're feeding in their life. That's what they're spending their money on or spending their life force energy on. Whereas, like you're saying, you can cultivate higher virtues, you can cultivate more love, more on higher states of consciousness. Something about the raising of energy that I learned from doing these practices is that it's not just temporary. It's not just like in this moment of pulling energy up, I have an expanded consciousness, but it's also raising your vibration on a daily basis, on a regular basis by doing these practices, by avoiding ejaculating, or for women, avoiding climax. And then this energy starts to build up and build up. And so it's the most embodied spiritual practice that I've ever come across. So I think
Yeah,
this
and
is,
it can prevent a lot of health issues later on, like enlarged prostate or prostate cancer. It's really important to have like a daily, regular practice to keep your body healthy, keep the sexual organs healthy.
so how would you say, Minke, that this doing these practices affects the way that a man is a lover?
I think they become more sensitive to energy, and how you meditate is how you actually make love. So
Mm.
you kind of start to feel also the energy in your lover. Yeah. And so you can actually start to learn how to exchange and move like your microcosmic orbit in an infinity symbol, so to speak, to entwine the energy. And when you entwine energy, you actually generate more harmony in your relationship. So there's
Mm.
less of this competition and power games and struggle. And I want you to do this. And why don't you trust me? And back and forth. That when you have more of that mutual flow of energy between you, you can have a more of a stable yet exciting and passionate relationship.
Mm. I remember the first man that I met that did these practices. I met him when I was 20 years old, and lovemaking was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I hadn't even really enjoyed sex until then. I'd like been celibate for a while, and then I met this man, and when we made love, it went for hours. My whole body, I felt like my body was expanding and filling up with energy, and that energy was cracking me open. So I had like emotional releases, like crying, but like beautiful crying, like my heart cracking open, my body cracking open, and just feeling like waves and waves of energy. And then I feel like we both together expanded into the stars, into the universe. It's like this feeling of expansion with somebody else. Like it's phenomenal. And I mean, it was so life changing. I stayed with him for 9 years. He was my only tantric lover for 9 years. Like I didn't want to be with anybody else. I didn't want another experience. It was just so phenomenal. And actually, it's because of him that I went and trained with Mantek Chia and wanted to learn the female arts, because I just like, why aren't we, isn't everybody teaching this? This is just totally amazing. And this is, if lovemaking be like this, we shouldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah, the
So,
experience of oneness becomes so intimate and it's so expansive also that you're really on the edge of enlightenment because the awareness and the presence is so heightened. Yeah, and
yeah,
the pleasure is so heightened. You know, the ingredients of Shakti and Shiva meeting in that oneness state is so beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it is. And
And it
once
can
you've,
be anyone can access it, but they also need that tuning in and preparing yourself for grace.
yeah. One of the things I like about Taoist practices is that they're solo practices. Like a lot of the neo-tantra world, you're always in interaction, you're massaging, you're eye gazing, you're always with the other. And what I love about the Tao Tantric Arts is that you have so many solo practices. And I remember you saying, Minke, it's like tuning your instrument before you go and play music together. And so it's more like a series of practices and like meditations where the object of your meditation is your sexual energy. Like you're bringing your loving presence to become conscious of that energy, where it lives in your body and how it's moving in your body, and then using certain breathing and muscles and intentions to move it in particular ways. And so, this doing this kind of practice on your own is the secret. I really feel like, it's the most empowering because you don't have to be at a tantra workshop being guided. You're really discovering how to work with it on your own, and you can practice it every day. And then I don't think we need to do so much practice when we're making love. It should be a bit more free flow, a bit more spontaneous, a bit more like having fun. But if we've done the work on our own, then all the channels are open, then energy rises instead of pushing down. It's like we prepare ourselves for the best possible experience, but we don't have to be trying too hard when we're making love.
Yeah, it's more challenging in a way to keep pulling up energy when you're with a partner, because the partner is like kind of pulling your energy, through the lover's excitement. So it's really important, that centeredness, the presence, for the man to cultivate that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of, I remember even that for me as a woman, like I did solo practices and started moving energy in different channels. And then I noticed when I was making love, it just happened automatically because I put in that work on my own. So I think it's really valuable. So yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit now about like what we're putting together. So we've done a couple of mixed trainings with men and women over the years, but we continuously have men asking us, when's the men's training coming, right? And then we had this great idea of like, we can actually go deeper with an online training for men, because we can teach the practices and men can turn off their camera and turn off their audio and practice with guidance, but be in privacy, so that we can have this mixture of being able to guide, but them also having their private space. So yeah, we were very thrilled when we realized that we could teach these practices a new way than we did last time we taught men, when we were only doing live retreats. So this is our excitement. And like you said, you've been teaching men for 35 years and we've been running Tao Tantric Arts for 14 years. So we really have so much that we want to bring into this training, with some theory as well as practices, so that there is a deeper level of understanding of what these practices are about and why we do them. And also that like bigger context of working with sexual energy. It's not just about pleasure, but really about evolution. And being able to just understand that, I believe, deepens the level of experience that somebody has.
And we could heal the split between the heart and the sex, and men and women, and just start to make that healing process for our evolution happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that we're putting this together. At the moment, we have a waiting list open for men that are interested. So next to this video, you can look for a link or you go to taotantricarts.com and follow the trainings for men and put in your details. And then we will make sure that those on the waiting list get the first option to join and also get a special bonus rate. So if you're a man listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I would like to have more, a more nuanced understanding of working with energy, to have the bigger picture, to have daily practices to do, including Qigong. So we're, in terms of practices, Minke mentioned the orgasmic upward draw. She also mentioned the microcosmic orbit, which is a real classic one, opening different energy channels. We've got testicle breathing, we've got testicle massage, we've got self-massage. We're also going to be working with moving from projecting sexual energy, for example, into porn and fantasy, to getting a more embodied sexuality, which is a massive piece of healing and empowerment. And then self-pleasure practice that you can do where you're learning to harness your sexual energy in a different way. And so some of those you can do with us live, and then of course you can practice again and again. You can rewatch the videos and have the guidance, and because practice is really something you need to keep doing to have different experiences as you go. So this is what we're going to be putting together.
Yeah, and we have wonderful sexual vitality qigong, which works with earth energy, because the male sexual energy is quite volatile, and you need that balance of the earth energy to stabilize it. Yeah, so work a lot with the earth and the heavenly energy to become more balanced as a human being.
And then also, of course, some classes on sharing sexual energy, like how to share this with your partner, which might be a woman, it might also be another man. But it's really just about how to take our solo practice and put it into practice with somebody else, and into our not only lovemaking, but also we can do tantric meditations with somebody where we're learning to move that energy. So there's a combination of solo practice, partner practice, and of course making love itself, more spontaneous practice, integrating all of these tools. I'm excited. Are
I'm
you
excited.
excited?
I really look forward to welcome you into the class.
Yeah. No, I'm very thrilled. I always find it really fulfilling to work with men.
Me
And
too. I just love it.
yeah. So yeah, we're very excited for those that feel called. Thank you for feeling the calling. Thank you for trusting us, and sign yourself up on the waiting list. And we look forward to seeing
Looking forward to seeing you.
you.